Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Thursday, the 15th of July, 2021. And in the past, we have been ruminating about a digital currency replacing the world's existing fiat currency. Well, there have been a number of steps in this direction, and we thought we should take a look and see what is happening. And when can we expect a digital currency to come into effect? So let's take a look. An excellent article published today, in fact, by Sharecast. What does China's digital yuan mean for Bitcoin? Now, the focus of this is not really on Bitcoin, it's more on the digital yuan. And I know that many people will be thinking, what the devil is a digital yuan? Let's just read a little of this. Just when you thought the war between hard currencies and digital currencies like Bitcoin couldn't get any more interesting, China released its digital yuan. Although China's not going to replace its fiat currency with the digital yuan completely, it's too soon to tell, as trials are still going on with central banks, like the People's Bank of China leading the operation. So what is the digital yuan? Officially known as a digital currency electronic payment, or DCEP, China wants to replace its fiat currency with the digital one to encourage cashless transactions, ushering in a new era for world economics. Like Bitcoin, it also relies on blockchain technology to facilitate and verify transactions, but unlike Bitcoin, it is centrally controlled by regulatory authorities and backed up by fiat currency reserves. Now, it's quite interesting that China has come out with this digital yuan, which it has been using in a trial phase for some months. In fact, the last report I saw was back in March of this year. And now all of a sudden, it's kicked out all of the Bitcoin miners from China, or is in the process of doing so, and trying to prevent the use of Bitcoin in China because it wants the supremacy of the digital yuan, because after all, the government can control it. So, why are we raising this today? As I say, I'm not really going to go into the Bitcoin area because the purpose of this is a digital currency. Well, if we take a look at Bloomberg yesterday, look at this. ECB starts next digital euro stage with investigation phase. What's this all about? The European Central Bank took a major step toward a digital euro on Wednesday, approving an investigation phase that could ultimately lead to a virtual currency being implemented around the middle of the decade. Now, I don't know if our long-term listeners will remember, but about 2 years ago, there was much made of a digital currency suddenly appearing overnight. And we said, no, that's not going to happen. You will not see a digital dollar, certainly, or major digital currency until the middle of the 2020s, towards the end of the 2020s. China has beaten us to that because we're only in 2021. Whether it will implement it fully by 2025 remains to be seen, but it is a control economy and therefore it is easier for the Chinese government to enforce it on its people than for the American government to do so. Having said that, we can see in Europe, which is made up of a number of nation states, are also looking to actually implement a digital currency. And they're quoting the middle of the decade, which really fits in with what we've said for years. The next stage will last 24 months and aims to address key issues on design and distribution, the ECB said in a statement. It also said the decision will not prejudge any future decision on the possible issuance of a digital euro, which will come only later. In any event, a digital euro would complement cash, not replace it. And that, frankly, is our view and always has been our view. there is still a need for these tiny, tiny transactions. Buying a sweet in the local shop. No one's really going to want to pay with a card or their phone. And especially if it's a child who wants a couple of these sweets, a stick of licorice or something of that nature. Having said that, the one thing that the coronavirus pandemic has brought home to all of us has been the fact that we can cope with digital money to a large extent because we're buying more and more online. We were ordering our shopping to be delivered to our home and paying for it online. And quite frankly, the last time I used any currency whatsoever was a £1 bet I did with a neighbour over where we thought the FTSE was going to be at the end of a certain day. And I won the bet, and the neighbour gave me £1, and then we did the same for the next day, and the neighbour won the bet, and I gave him £1 back. And that was essentially the last time I've used real money, or fiat money, not real money. Oh dear, we all know that gold and silver are real money, but fiat money in absolutely months and months and months. Anyway, Executive Board member Fabio Panetta said the next phase would be implementation, which would take about 3 years. President Christine Lagarde has been enthusiastic about a central bank digital currency, and the European Central Bank has warned that failing to implement one could undermine the bloc's monetary autonomy as payment providers such as foreign technology giants gain ground. So they're clearly worried about China and what they're doing, as well as other countries, not even forgetting to mention cryptocurrencies. If the European Central Bank eventually adopts a virtual currency, it'll likely follow in the footsteps of China, where trials have started in several cities. Eastern Caribbean islands that share central bank, including Grenada and St. Kitts and Nevis, have already launched their own versions. The US Federal Reserve and Bank of England are also looking into the possibilities for their economies. And again, listeners to this channel may remember that we reported that Fed Chair Jerome Powell stated a couple of months ago that the Fed were going to give the concept of a digital currency a degree of priority in terms of their investigations. We were bankers, and we can tell you these things are not created overnight. There are far more complications than most people can imagine. That's even without persuading people to accept them in the first place. But they're seeing what's happening in the crypto world. Central banks are worried. They like the technology. They just don't like the loss of potential control. And so, we're on the cusp. This decade will see, without doubt, the introduction of digital currencies. We are virtually there now. When you think about it, most payments made now are done online. We're using a digital currency. Most credit now created in the world is created digitally. It used to be whenever banks created loans, the central banks had to print the money in order for those loans to be deposited. Now it's all done by computers. So we virtually have a digital currency now. But what they're talking about is a currency that will broadly replace our physical money. So with the exception of some very, very small transactions, the digital currency or virtual currency will dominate. The other alternative, of course, is that we're all microchipped, and then you do not need any fiat currency whatsoever, as we'll just wave our arm or use our eye or whatever the case may be, wherever our microchip is deposited, in order to purchase whatever it is we wish to purchase. Would we welcome such an environment? You bet we would not. We can see certain aspects of that being, not the microchip, of the digital currency being beneficial. But we can also see that it is far easier for central governments to cut off your sort of source of finance and other people to hack into them. Whereas at least with cash, you just have to fend off the occasional burglar. What do you think? Do you think we're going to have digital currencies much faster than these organizations are predicting, or is it going to take 5 to 10 years to fully implement? Our money is on the longer time scale, although we don't doubt that some countries will introduce it much sooner, particularly those who are either very small or have overall control over their people. In other words, a central authority government. Let us know what you think. Do share your thoughts. If you enjoy this sort of video, please give us a thumbs up. But most certainly, please, if you haven't done so, subscribe and press the bell sign. Until next time. Disclaimer. Illuminati silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.